So after 7.5 years of running, there are plenty of things I wish I knew back when I started. Things that would have changed the way I trained and changed the way I thought about the journey us runners go through year after year. But what are these 5 things and how can they possibly help you? Well, today we're about to dive in and find out. What is up guys, Andy Forrest, the Team Runner here. Welcome back to another video, and today we're talking all about the 5 things that I wish I knew as a beginner runner. So as simple as running can be, where you just simply lace up some shoes and get out the door for a run, if you consume yourself in the world of running, it can be mind-boggling, baffling and downright confusing. Whether it's training, whether it's nutrition, whether it's racing, whether it's shoes, whatever it might be, there's so much information out there that's being pumped in from each and every angle. And what I want to do today is share with you 5 things that over the years I've probably wasted way too much time learning about or trying to understand or gone down the wrong path with. And hopefully by sharing what I'm about to share will help you guys make more informed decisions as you progress through your running journey. So if you're excited for today's video guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and let's kickstart this list. So the first thing I wish I paid more attention to and really not diverted off from, because I did start this in the beginning, is training by time and feel. But as things progressed with my running and more gizmos and gadgets appeared on the running scene, whether that's stride foot pods where you can run by power, and obviously watches measure by power now, whether that's heart rate monitors, whether it's just general GPS watches that measure you by pace, feel and time is always for me fundamentally the best way to train. It's actually something I've gone back to. I used to do it, then I got caught up by hitting splits and certain heart rates and all sorts of stuff. And actually what it does at the end of the day is, if we're a beginner runner and we're relying solely on technology, it completely takes away the ability to learn how our body feels. So I've been in positions in the past where I have pushed my body so that I learn breathing patterns, how things feel when I'm at certain paces. I've also pushed my body to the point where I've flooded my system with lactate on multiple occasions from running too fast or whatever it might be. Those are feelings you don't learn when you're just going, right, my plan says today I'm going to run at 8 minutes per mile or 5 minutes per K or whatever it might be, and that's what I'm going to do. That plan and that pace doesn't actually understand how your body's feeling, nor does it understand the effort you're exerting to do it. It's just telling you to do something, assuming that you're in that fitness level, that should be an easy run or a tempo run or a marathon pace run. So actually, learning how your body feels is far more important, because you could be picking up a generic training plan from anywhere on the internet, which there are some great ones out there, but you could be doing runs in actually the wrong zone for your body, but assuming it's right because the watch tells you to or the plan tells you to. So things like training by feel and by time is so important to get to know your body, understand breathing patterns, understand when to push, not to push, when you drop your form because you're starting to get too tired. This sort of stuff you don't really learn when you have too much technology in your face. So stick to time and feel, understand your body, and when you feel like you've got a good grasp of things, then dabble with the technology. And the second thing I wish I knew when I was a beginner runner was to build a very, very small shoe rotation. I'm talking 2 or 3 shoes, and no, they don't have to be the latest and greatest, but just different types of shoes. Here's the thing, 2 reasons. Number 1, injury prevention. Number 2, a mental benefit. The injury prevention, I used to run in 1 pair of shoes, probably for the first 2 years of my running journey. 1 pair of shoes, I would squeeze as much miles out of them as possible. When my shins started to hurt, that's when I knew I needed to get some new shoes. That's at the point the midsole foam was so compressed, they were basically unusable. It was painful to run in. I would get shin splints and it was freaking painful. And then it depended on how quickly I could get back into the outlet store to go and grab another pair of shoes. Having 2 pairs of shoes, injury prevention, mainly because when you take your feet out of those shoes, the midsole foam decompresses. If you're leaving those shoes 2 or 3 or 4 days between the next run, it gives them more time to decompress, ultimately prolongs the life of them, but also gives your legs a chance to switch up to a different pair of shoes, use a different midsole foam, and then gives that other shoe a chance to decompress. So getting that good variation in there is really, really important. And also from a mental benefit perspective as well, teaching your body that maybe a lighter pair of shoes is, I'm going to go out and do some speed work, and not necessarily a heavier pair, but a more cushioned pair of shoes is a day where I'm going to go and do some easy miles. Getting that distinguishment between 2 different pairs of shoes, what their purposes might be. I often often find when I lace up a really light pair of shoes, it gets me fired up and ready to do some speed work. And if I'm putting on some heavier, more cushioned shoes, mentally I'm dialing into the fact that I'm going to be running nice and slow and easy. So there's a couple of benefits there, and that is definitely something you guys need to think about. And the third thing I wish I did more of as a beginner runner was to do more local races, or more races in general, but in particular local races, because ultimately when we start our running journey, it's usually for a reason, whether it's that we want to run our first marathon or we want to do couch to 5k, and we usually have that flashy goal at the end, whether it's a park run, whether it's London Marathon or anything in between. But then once that's done and we want to take our running forward and we want to set more goals, my advice here is look at local running clubs, look at local races, look at what options there are, because I promise you, you will have the most fun if you immerse yourself in the local running scene. Now, these races can certainly be for social benefits, just for fun, then don't have to be a big goal. I think we're racing continually for trying to hit certain targets and certain goals can actually be quite detrimental in the long term. I love to go and measure myself over certain local races, see how I did last year, and just go out and have some fun, see if I can beat last year's time. There's no like, I want to run this specific time and beat this specific goal. It's, I want to see how I stack up against last year. It's a complete different mindset. I get to see friends that I've met at races. We have good chats before, we have good chats after, and we have good fun racing each other in the middle. I think the local racing scene in particular from local running clubs needs supporting. We're all there to go and enjoy ourselves. We want to do the Londons, the marathons, the Manchesters, the Brightons, the Bostons, the Berlins. We want to do all of this stuff. These are dream races. But in between that, we can have so much fun, as I said, immersing ourselves in the local running club scene. If you follow the channel, you know I do a ton of local running club races. It's great to support them. They're usually supporting local charities, and I get to have great fun chatting to people before and afterwards. Friends that I meet there, friends that I've made, future running buddies that we've now gone on social runs together. It's just so great for the mind and soul, not to just be striving for that one big target, but to have some fun in between. And the fourth thing I wish I paid more attention to when I was a beginner runner and did more of is understanding and learning about running drills, how they can impact us and how they can improve our performance. Now, with running drills, it's something that I didn't really pay attention to for the first 3 or 4 years of my running. I'm going to be completely honest with you. It's only in the last 2 or 3 years that I've really started to implement them a lot more in my running routine. Now, for me, running drills used to feel like they were a faff. They were a hassle, they were just extra things stopping me from getting miles in because I had to take time out to do them. But actually what I worked out was if I just spent 5 to 10 minutes before every single workout doing some running drills, doing some running strides, it would just overall, over time, like everything, just increase my performance and increase my efficiency slowly but surely. Now, hey, we're all built differently. If you follow this channel, you know I'm 6'6", I have a really long stride, my cadence is quite low. I'm never going to have that perfect running form, all right? It's just a fact, I'm not. And most of us out there will never have the perfect running form. But what we can do is we can be the best version of ourselves possible. I know that sounds really cheesy, right? And it is, but we can be better than what we are if we actually put a little bit of time and a little bit of effort into working on our biomechanics. So running drills and strides is something that I do especially a lot of when I'm doing shorter distance training, 10k work, and I make sure I do them before every single workout. And I feel that by the end of those training blocks, I'm so much more efficient than I was when I started. This video is not going to cover what drills and strides you should do. There are plenty of videos out there, and who knows, I might end up doing a dedicated video on the ones that I do at some point. But for now, just maybe put a bit of time, put a bit of research, put a bit of energy into learning and understanding a little bit more about running drills and how they can help you. And the fifth thing I really wish I paid more attention to and learned more about, because this caused me a lot of injuries in my early days, is understanding the difference between pre-run activations for our muscles and post-run stretches for our muscles. So coming from an amateur sports team, a football team, pre my running days, warm-ups and cool-downs were very much non-existent, and if we did them, we'd stand on the sideline doing some static stretches before we'd even done anything. And actually understanding and learning the difference between what we should do before a run and what's going to help us as opposed to what we should do after a run is really, really crucial. Doing a lot of pre-run static stretches where we're just standing there stretching muscles that are cold in effect when we haven't even done any warm-up is not the best idea. It's something that ends up in injury. For me, it ended up in a lot of injury, a lot of tightness, a lot of muscle strains, and actually learning what pre-run activations are as opposed to doing static stretches changed the game. So for me now, what I like to do is I've got pre-run activations that fire up my glutes, my hamstrings and everything out in my back, making sure everything's activated that I need it to be activated, and then post-run I spend some time doing the static stretches. So static stretches are much better for when you've done exercise and you just need to stretch the muscles out and loosen them up again, whereas pre-run activations are something that we do that don't put too much strain on the muscle, but they allow us to be a bit more dynamic in our flexibility and get our muscles firing in the right way, ready to embrace the exercise that is about to come. So there is a big difference. It's something that I struggle with at the start. It's something that a lot of people struggle with at the start. I see a lot of people before a race in the corrals, in the pens, ready to go, doing static stretches, and I'm thinking, I hope you've warmed up. I hope you've done a light jog before doing that, because it could end up in disaster. So there we go. Those are my top 5 things I wish I knew as a beginner runner that really would have changed the landscape for me in running. Wasted too much time getting injured, hurting myself, researching, not doing enough of whatever it might be. These things that I've listed today have really helped me now at this point in my running journey become a much better runner, and hopefully you guys, it will help you as well. I'd love to know, if you are an experienced runner, what the things are that you wished you'd known as a beginner runner. Drop them in the comments below. Today I've tried to be slightly different and share some kind of alternative things that what you might normally see in these type of videos. Hopefully it helps you, because obviously things like strength training, nutrition, all of that stuff is great to learn, but I feel like that's covered a lot in other tips and tutorials. Hopefully today there's been some things that are slightly different that might help you think about different areas of your running in a slightly different way. But as I said, if you're an experienced runner and you want to share your thoughts, do drop them in the comments below. As always, I'd love to make that comment section a great area and a great hub of information for new runners to go down and check out. And if you're a new runner, let me know if this is helpful or not, and how your running journey's been and what your next goals are. It'd be great to hear from each and every one of you. That's it from me today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Until then.